I'll take a chisel and I'll chop away making a bunch of little cuts here.
Calibrated tap.
Yeah. The last one wants to be at my angle. Like that.
So you started at the center and chiseled out.
Well, I started sort of near one end. So this is the easy side. That's the ramping side I can see. This one's undercut. This one's a little trickier, and you got to make sure there's a get the crud out from under there, because otherwise your joint won't go together. So now I'm going to angle it under. I'm going to make sure that I'm just taking off a tiny bit, because I don't want to peel that up and break it. So now I can check it. Got a lot to go. Good. Playing it safe. Well, anybody who wants to come up and stand around me, you know me, feel free. You're not going to be in my way. So I'm taking away my 1/3 here. Now I'm getting in with the router plane to the right depth. You're not saving that, are you?
Yeah, well, have you sign it, and then I'm going to put it on my wall.
Sign it. Good luck. Good luck. You find a lot of the people that drew up period furniture in the 50s were kind of products of their shop teachers, and they just improved a lot of stuff when they drew it up. Changed it to make it easier, or what they thought would be better. So then I'll do the same thing on this side. Again, the tricky one is the undercut one. The one that's ramped this way is easy, but this one you got to turn the tool over and undercut it. So I cut it really, really close to my line, and then I tip it. Let me clean up to this line here. Yeah. It's really just two dados, one on each side, that stop short. So the two dados come up, they stop at the mitered spot, and then half of the bottom is cut away for the corresponding piece. You've got to simplify it in your mind in order to understand it. One underneath, one of my miter, and then the router plane. And a router plane is good because the blade actually sneaks under that overhang. Like that. All right, so now I've got essentially a dado on each side that stops at the part that's going to get mitered, and then half of that bottom of that dado is cut away for my corresponding piece. So now I'm going to mark my 60 degrees on this piece. At least I'm going to mark one line, and then I'm going to hold my stock up for the second line. Make sure my angle's right. I'm going to mark it on the other side because it's not going to go on this side, is it? How come that's not working? It's supposed to be this way. Yeah, that's what you want. I mean, there's a fine line here between a good fit and a fit that you have to push in. You really don't want to have to push it too hard because your stock, when you're done, is very small stock, and if it's too tight a fit, it's going to push itself out of line.
It'll also push all the glue on it.
Yeah, you don't want it so tight that, like that. That's what you want. You want it to just press in. You don't have to bang it in. And so I'm lining this up on my line to make sure I'm good there. Now I'm going to mark the outside, and then I'll transfer this with my square, because you need reference points to see what you're going to cut. So that'll be, transfer that back onto here. One there, one there, one there, one there. Ignore those. I'll try again. So, one there. Yeah, it's important to get a good scribe mark on these, because you really need something to. It's like when you make dovetails, you need a little line to rest your chisel in to get a good cut. You don't want to use a pencil because it's not really a physical mark in the wood. You know, it's got a lot of width to it, whereas a scribe line has, in theory, doesn't have any much width at all to it. So let's see if these connect. I hope they do. Better. All right. So now I want to. The other thing is, once you start fitting one to the next, what you want to do is make a mark here and here, so you always put it together this way, because you can flip it around and put it together this way. And when you start marking those miters, they're only going to go together one way. So keep those two ends, keep track of them, because otherwise you'll get in trouble. So now I have to make it so this guy will drop down halfway down this guy, right? Yep. And so I've got to cut away. This one's going to go this way, like that. This one's going to be the other way, and I've got to cut a slot, essentially a slot halfway down, so this guy can drop down onto this piece. So my halfway mark is there. I've still got it marked on here, since it's a half lap appropriately, right? X, X goes this way. So now I'm going to set it in my scribe line so I know it's centered. I'm going to reach in and mark that little fin that I've left. I'm going to mark the slot I have to cut out of the second piece so that the little fin can slide right down through a notch and then stop halfway. So I've got to line this up so it fits on the scribe lines. And I'm going to do this with a pencil because I want something to really, I want to be able to see it. And I'm also going to make it kind of fat so that it's nice and tight. Yep. So I'm going to transfer it with my protractor. Square. Hello. So you want to mark this down. So this is going to get cut out, and it's going to allow this piece to drop down and stop halfway. So I'm going to use my Japanese saw, which is good for this kind of thing. Could have used this one. It's from Providence, Rhode Island.
Might have been that one.
Could have been that one right there. See how my fit is? XX. A little too tight, so I'm going to pair it. Yeah. Yeah, the trouble is this stuff is the dimensions are so small in this. In fact, it's hard to get a chisel into that slot. It's so small to pair it.
That's why the thin
You need a really thin chisel to get in here. This one's, pretty thin.